Yo, YouTube family. It's your boy D, and I'm back with a banger. Today we got a mid comb over fade with a little C cup action. So I'm gonna get straight into it. Shout out to my client Berto for bringing his sons through and getting them right before they went on a family trip first and foremost. Guys, thank you for supporting. If you tuned in, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think, bro. Fire, trash, let me know. I need to know. I need to know. Um, that being said, let's get into it, man. Mid comb over fade, we finna go straight to the action. No Jackson, no playing around. We finna get straight to it. So I first start off by combing my client's hair and wetting it and kind of getting a formation of which way he likes his hair to go or comb it per se. And then we kind of get into the debulking action. So you can see I'm just making those parts kind of how a woman will make her parts before she do everything, and then we're going to debulk. So first we're going to go in there and we're going to debulk everything under that bottom and then work it that way. You can see my client, his other son, is pretty fresh and crispy over there with his taper, rocking the curly look with the tapers on the side and in the back. His younger son here, we're about to give him that mid comb over fade. And these are one of my favorite types of cuts, man. I'm not gonna hold you, I'm not gonna lie to you. So, like I said, debulking using my 1.5 here. So we're gonna work our way through and kind of just get everything to one length, and then we're gonna start fading from there. It's all about having a blueprint and then kind of following that blueprint and sticking to the script. I can't make it up. If you can do this the right way, if you can find a thing that works for you, most importantly, you will be a-okay. And that is the biggest portion to this. If not, you know, it's also just going to depend on you and what it is you're aiming for and what it is you're trying to do. That will be the biggest portion of this. Gotta find something that works for you and then kind of roll with it and stick to it. um, that's my biggest thing. I try to teach people um, a strategic, kind of system and kind of run with it and go. If you can stick to that and just learn, you will be a-okay. So first and foremost, as you can see, I'm now debulking all of that hair that was above from where I debulked in the first place. And you got to remember to comb the hair because that's going to initially help you achieve that look, but it's going to get all the hair that you've already cut out of the way. And because of how I'm cutting it, I'm trying to see where I'm at within this cut. My Andes Masters are dying. That's what the red means, but no worries. We're going to work through it. I work pretty fast and efficient. And once I get to the point where I don't need those clippers, it'll be strictly shear cutting. But right now we're taking a 2 and we're kind of cutting that all to an even length. It's pretty simple, just getting our point of emphasis to where, okay, we can work from this point. So it's kind of like following a blueprint. And I'll say it over and over and over. If you can follow the blueprint, if you can follow the rules, if you can stick to a system, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's just simple as that goes. You can't you can't really break something if it's not broken. And so with cutting hair, it's repetition and skill set, and then finding a system that works for you. So like I said, we're getting into this, we're working through it, and ultimately, I'm gonna show you guys how to do this fade, particularly because he is of Hispanic ethnicity. So cutting hair, different textures of hair with different ethnicities is a little different, but a lot of times it's just the same. Um, Honestly, just it's about following the system and kind of creating a system that works for you. So we're kind of evening everything out. We want all that hair one level underneath, and then we're combing it out. So you see, he had a lot of hair. So we're doing a lot of debulking right now. This is the first part because it's been so long since he's had a nice little chop. We're trying to work through this, okay? So as I'm working through this, guys, I'm getting to that point of emphasis to where it's like, all right, cool. We've made the progress of where we want to be, cutting everything in between and underneath. Now we have to go through and we kind of make everything even, all the hairs to one length. So I'm cutting everything from that parietal ridge on the left side to the right side to one length. All his hair on top will remain. As you can see, I'm combing it. So everything that lays over, I will shear cut. But right now, I'm using the comb to kind of make every little cut more strategic and precise. And now we're going to get into the shear cutting. So pay attention here and listen and, take notes. So right now, I'm combing the hair, and everything in between my fingers is going to get to one length, and that's where we're going to cut, okay? And I'm keeping it at a nice angle to where my shoulders and my elbows are level, but it's out proportioned, either a 90 or a 60-degree angle. And I'm raising above his head and then I'm cutting, okay? So I'm keeping everything level, but I'm still combing to where it needs to be. And then we're working our way to where everything hangs at the right level. So we don't want it overly hanging over the parietal ridge or the side of his head. Um, that initially is going to help you become a better barber because you understand how to shear cut and keep everything at one level. So we're cutting everything to one length, and when you comb it, you'll see it, and it's all level and even. That's what we're aiming for. So I'm getting better with these YouTube videos on how to give you guys more distinguished hints on what it is you're looking for and what it is you want to be aiming for. If your client can give you a detailed, desired description of the cut that you're wanting, or they're wanting, I'm sorry, then you will, have a better understanding of the look that you're going for, and therefore you can cut towards it. So right now we're going to use a clipper over comb, and I always tell you guys, I don't know if I've told you before, but I'm gonna tell you again, tips of the teeth turned out to your torso. So using the tips of the comb, you're going to turn it out towards your torso, and that's where you will cut everything in between. But you can see where I'm using my fingers, and everything that's not in line with what's already leveled, I'm going to cut extra. I've been doing this for years, so I'm a little bit more experienced, so I can see where it is that I'm looking for, as far as the actual cut, and then I work from that point of emphasis. That way, for me, it shows better, but it also gives my client an idea of what it is they're looking for, and what I'm looking for too. So, that being said, pay attention to how when I get everything at an angle, and then whether I pull it up to a 90-degree angle or not, I'm working my way through the haircut, side to side, from front to back, to make sure every piece is even. So you can see, pull the hair, cut all that, okay? Pay attention to it. It makes a difference. If you can see that to where you're bringing everything in one length, one motion, and then you're doing an even cut, it'll make it a lot better. So you see where it's a little bit heavier, it's a little bit darker. That's where I'm cutting. I'm turning the tips of the teeth of the torso of the comb out to my torso to make this cut. Okay, guys, so we've gotten through the shear cutting part. Now we're going to make our first initial guideline, which we're going to go in there, create with our clipper closed, and we're going to create a bald guideline. This pretty much will just be our start point, of to where we start cutting and working into this cut, okay? So we're going to make this guideline, and then everything up under that, we will bald it out. But I'm going to do it in a form of a drop. So we're going to angle it right above that ear, and then we're going to create like that drop look. So like I said, it's a mid comb over fade. We're going to give it that drop fade type appeal. So we're cutting everything up underneath that, but we're creating our first guideline that'll help us know where to fade up into. And then we kind of work our way from there. Now, the system is pretty simple. Like I always say, if you follow it, you can learn to get better at this, but you got to find a system that works for you, as well as something that's going to help you become understanding of how to cut hair at a higher level. That's the biggest thing. And people want quality haircuts. If they're going to spend their money, they want a quality haircut, okay? Can't make this up, can't fake it, can't deny it. That's just the biggest thing for me, is understanding that, hey, you know, you got to get to a point to where you want to understand how to cut the hair, and you want to do it at a high level. Um, if you can do that, that will help better you as the barber, initially creating the things that you want for your client, but for yourself as well. So now we're going in there with our babblers trimmers and we're creating the bald look. And usually I will go in there with my shaver afterwards and I'll clean all that up. But we're just going to use our trimmer and we're going to go through and we're going to be very tedious with it and we're going to clean all the hair up to make sure it's very bald. And the hair just grows a little bit longer maybe. So we got to make sure that it's completely bald. Okay. That's the biggest portion. Okay. All right, guys. So now that we've done that part, we're going to start making our next guideline, which I'm going in there with my clipper open and I'm creating the next line to fade out. From there, you'll see me put my one guard on and I'm going to make another guideline fading up into that so that for me, it's a little bit easier because I know that everything up under this one with the guideline of that, I'm going to use a half, and everything above that, I will use a 1.5. So that makes sense to you guys. So we're pretty much fading with levels, but we're fading out what we put in there with another guard or that guard. And it makes it a little bit simpler, but I'm showing you a different method of fading and how I fade from the bottom up versus the top down. So you can do it either way. And in this case, I faded from the bottom up, debulking the hair step by step, piece by piece, 1.5 guard, one guard to my half guard. Okay. So now we're going to use our 1.5 guard and we're going to fade all that up and debulk everything. Now the hair grows at an angle once it gets on that parietal ridge of the head. So we're going to angle it a little bit different versus once you get towards the back of the nape. That makes it a bit of a difference. Okay. And you got to understand that so that it makes sense to you when you're fading so that you won't you won't mess up anything that you're doing. Okay. So 1.5 right now, open, fading into every bit of weight of the weight, then halfway and then close. Okay. We're fading out all the dark heavy spots. Then we'll go back to our one and then we'll fade up from there. And I'm working my way through this haircut on a different pace simply because with this type of hair and it being darker, you kind of want to pace yourself and kind of understand that when you're working through the level system of this, you want it to be perfect, but you want the fade to blend. And so at first or through the process, it may not seem that way. You may not understand it. It may look funky, but if you stick to the process and you follow the system in place, you will not fail. Okay. And I'm not using the whole blade in certain areas. I'm fading at an angle, but I'm also stretching the skin. Okay. That makes a difference. And then brushing. Okay. So there's a point of brushing and combing at a time and a place. You just got to know the difference between the two. Okay. So working my way through this haircut, we're now using a half guard and we're fading up from the bottom there. Okay, this is pretty much a system blueprint cutting. Okay, blueprint system cutting. I'm not overly extending this. I'm not making it hard. It's very simple. You just gotta follow it. Okay, so right here, you're gonna see me make this line kind of disappear underneath. Now that's kind of the hard line. Even though I didn't make a hard line in here, it's still giving that simply because of the way I cut it. But when it's all said and done, it'll go away, it'll fade out. And I put it in there with my clipper so that when I fade it out and I get it out of there, it'll go away easier versus putting it in there with your trimmer. So as you can see, I'm working my way around. Before I get to that parietal ridge closer to the nape area, I'm kind of just blending out the haircut, okay? First, we're going to make the C cup on the side. And I always tell you guys, with the C cups, it's kind of a poetry of motion, okay? Start either at the bottom or at the top and then work your way and then meet and connect halfway. So that's what I did here. So I started at the bottom, then I went to the top and I meet and I connected, okay? And so his hair cuts a little bit easier. These clippers are a little bit sharper. And so it doesn't take much and you don't have to have it too heavy of a touch. Those things are sharp, they hitting, but they do the trick and you want a crisp C cup. So that part of the haircut is done, but you can see it from the angle how crispy it is. You'll see it better when I get towards the end of the cut. So don't worry. All right, guys. So now we're working to the nape. Same thing that I did before. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Same system, okay? Clipper open, creating our first guideline. Okay, working into it, working into it. Now we're gonna get up under that nape and we're gonna start our next guideline. And it's sped up a little bit, so stay with me, but don't worry, I'm not going to leave you behind. So using my one, I'm creating another guideline. I'm fading out all that dark area, and then we're gonna fade up above that. So we're fading each part into the haircut. So it's all blended, okay? Now halfway, using the one halfway, right up under that mark and then close, okay? Fading it all out. And you'll see it all come together as one. It's a piece by piece. It's like putting together a puzzle, okay? So you gotta understand that cutting is a system thing, and it's repetition. Once you find a system that works for you, you get better and you put it together piece by piece, okay? That's the biggest thing, okay? That's the biggest thing I can tell you guys, that repetition, the skill set, understanding what you're doing, progressing and putting it together piece by piece, that's going to make you the best barber there is. If you can do that, if you can understand that, you will not fail. You will not. You will be a great barber. You will get better and better. You will know how to cut every ethnicity, every type of hair at every level. So now we're using our half, we're going up under there and we're fading into it, okay? If you know that you're working in a system and you're working through the system, if you continue to do that through every part of the haircut, it'll be easier, it'll get better, and you will not have an issue, okay? So now you can see all that part of that haircut has come together from that left side. So once we finish with this, we will now go into blending out the bottom, but I need to finish blending in everything else first. So what I'm going to do here is continue to fade everything in together. And like I always tell you guys, details do matter. They will always matter. So that's what we're trying to focus on right here is the details, okay? The details of getting everything to one level, to one length. So we're blending out the bottom now, no guards, and we're fading it in all into the top portion, okay? It's a light to dark contrast, but you can see how that fade is. It's not a whole lot of heavyweight lines. I will go back in and I will detail towards the end, but this is what I'm showing you is that it's a piece by piece puzzle, working your way into it. Now you can fade from the bottom up or you can fade from the top down. It's kind of how you work it and how you really just go through the motions of cutting hair and getting better at your skill set or your craft. Anybody can do it. It's about applying yourself and getting better. So stretching the skin, really fading that out, working through my lever system, going halfway open, midway close. If you go open and you fade into those heavier dark spots and you fade at an angle, kind of tilting your clipper at an angle with the wrist motion, it'll help create a better blend. So you can see I'm detailing now, using my one, going into it, okay? We're going through it. We're gonna blend that in some more, blend it in, blend it in. Then we're gonna use our half guard, open, midway close, blend it in. And I'm brushing after every stroke so that you can see it's the progression of the cut, okay? It's the progression. I'll switch my clippers because sometimes they hit a little bit different than the other ones. That's what I'm looking for, is the differential of the fade so that it can make it a whole lot better. If you can understand that sometimes you gotta just use a different tool to help you create a different blend, because sometimes a different clipper hits different from the other clipper. It's like with a mechanic. Sometimes they use a different tool to reach a different um, point of the haircut, or in my case a haircut, but in the different case for that car that they're working on or that essential part that they need to work on, you might need a 10 millimeter with a different socket, or a 10 millimeter with a longer socket. So it's kind of just understanding your tools and working through them. So here I'm stretching the skin, we've created the blend, and now we still have a little line of demarcation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my trimmer, turn the trimmer outwards, kind of where the tips are out to my torso. Again, there's that tips turned out to the torso, and I'm gonna fade that out. So what I did to one side, I will do to the other. I'm not gonna go into deep detail on this side of the haircut, but I'm just gonna show you guys the same method. It's just pretty much working my way through the system, okay? Working my way through the guide system. I didn't want to make this video too long, but you can see how that left side is already done. It's already blended, even the nape, and we're still blending, okay? We're making everything connected by piece. So now that I've gotten that left side done and partial of the nape, I'm gonna go to that right side, partial of the nape too, And I'm going to do the same exact thing, which is we're blending it in. We're blending it in, hitting the dark spots, fading in, using angles with the clipper, making sure that the clipper is at a angle so that it can detail and hit the spots that I'm not hitting on that one side of the cut at that angle, because it's all about angle sometimes. Sometimes you don't need the whole clipper. Sometimes you need an angle of the clipper. Sometimes you need to blend it together at an angle versus using the whole clipper on the head. So now you see it's all blended, guys. It's all blended. Now we're blending out the bottom, fading out the heavy weight lines, okay? This is the biggest thing right here, guys, is that if you can understand that blending is the key part and the details matter, it will not fail you because your client will be satisfied. And my boy was satisfied when he got out of the chair. That's all that matters. So using the zero now, using my half, zero or half, however you want to reference it, we're blending that bottom out, okay? So that we don't have any other heavy weight lines in between the parietal ridge to the top of the hair and to where his hair comes over. So we're kind of just fading out everything into the bottom of the haircut. That light to dark contrast or dark to light contrast. However you want to play it, however you want to say it. It's totally up to you. The biggest thing is that you understand the blend. My boy repping his Texas shirt in there because him and the fan bam are going out of town. I'm not gonna tell you all their business, but just know they had a good little time. Look at him, my boy checking himself out in the mirror. He like, yeah, that boy fresh, ready for the trip. All right. Anyways, guys, let's get back to this. So I'm detailing right now, stretching the skin, going from my open with my clipper, and I'm just detailing it. That's the biggest thing right now, guys, is I'm detailing it. I'm making sure there's no heavy weight lines. I'm stretching the skin, pulling the skin. I don't want that fade to have any heavy weight in it. I want it to be well blended, well balanced. Um, because at the end of the day, this is my work. So you can see that has come together even at the angle. Look at it. There's not a whole lot of heavyweight lines in there. Like I said, I'm going to go back in detail, but I'm just blending right now and I'm angling my clipper. I'm using angles. I'm using a lot of tools and um, essentials right now to help me better this haircut. Okay. That is the key thing to get to the point of where you want. So what I did is the same thing on the other side. I'm going to do to this side. I'm using that trimmer and I'm going to just fade out the bottom of that hairline. Now, when doing that, you don't need to use the whole blade. Use just the tip of the teeth of the blade and just kind of fade it out, okay? And once you do that, go back in and fade out anything, because sometimes if you go in there with that whole blade against it, you can create another line. And sometimes getting out that trimmer line is harder than getting out that clipper line. But like my teachers always told me, whatever you put that line in there with is what you take it out with. So we're gonna do the left side of the C cup. You see me lining up that side. Look how that fade looks over there, guys. So we're gonna match his C cups to the one side. I'm getting his hair out of the way so that I can see it. I'm gonna turn him back so you guys can see a little bit better. Now watch the poetry of motion. I'm starting from the bottom, using the tip of the blade, okay? I'm creating that line up. Then I'm gonna connect it from the top, okay? This helps me create the C cup, okay? And these bad boys are sharp. These are the JRL trimmers. They hit, they do not miss, guys. They do not miss. Understanding that if you can just be comfortable, have a flowetry type poetry of motion with your C cup, you will make this a banger of a haircut. Okay, now look at that. Boom. C cups matched up, you know, them bad boys are sharp, but initially, hey, my boy, he's crispy, he's fresh, okay? And that's the biggest thing, guys. I'm not trying to overdo it. I'm not trying to underdo it. I'm just trying to make sure he's looking good for his trip. So combing the hair now, getting everything over and out of the way, making sure that it's in one angle. We don't do a heavy hard line on his hairline, so we don't have to worry about that. It's just more so nice C cup, nice edges, um, clean cut from the top to the bottom. That makes everything essential to what you need. If you can do that, you will not fail, okay, guys? You will not. So combing everything into one, we're nearing the end of this cut. If you have questions, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this haircut. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. You can see the fade. That thing is hitting off the meter, okay? Look at the blend. Peep the blend. There you go, okay, guys? Thank you for tuning in. It's your boy D. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. Let me know, fire or trash, man. Y'all stay blessed. We out.